Okay. Everybody got your recording in progress notification? Say yes. Hello. All right. Welcome everybody to our Walla webinar series. I am so excited about this one, and obviously you guys are too, because we had some pretty high registration numbers for this event, which I am thrilled about. We have a really special guest this morning. Amira Pollock is the founder of Struct Club, and she has built something really, really unique. Out of your background in teaching fitness classes, in being on the board of the Women in Fitness Association, in technology, you've brought together all of these different aspects of what I'm guessing things you love in your life and built them into one company. So it's really an honor to have you here. I know we're all very excited to learn from you. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things before we get started. If this is your first Walla webinar series, we like to engage on these. The last thing I want is for you guys to be bored and clicking around on 25 other tabs and doing something else. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat. I know that's easier if you're on your phone, but we do have questions available, like the Q&A aspect of webinars. So if you're on your computers at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A section there, and you'll be able to ask questions. You guys can upvote questions if you also have the same question. So that'll make me jump on it quickly and we can make sure to answer it right away. We are recording this, so we will be sending out, oh, hi. Did somebody raise their hand already? We will be sending out a recording of this afterwards, so don't worry about taking, feverish notes right now. You can always go back to it. But our hope here is that you can come away with something that you either take action on in your business during this event or right after, or something that inspires you to bring something into your business that's new and exciting and can really keep you motivated. So without further ado, I would love to turn it over to Amira and let you dive into our conversation today around music mechanics.
Definitely. Well, thanks so much,
Oh,
Laura. Thanks to
I
the,
can't hear you. Hold on one second. Are you
how
muted?
about now?
Okay, now we can.
Yay,
Okay,
great.
you're here.
Well, I was just going to say thanks so much, Laura, and thanks to the Wallet community. I'm seeing a lot of familiar names here too from our community. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And like Laura mentioned, I'm Amira Pollock. I'm dialing in from Los Angeles today. I'd love to hear if y'all could drop into the chat. Where are you calling in from? What city and what studio are you at? It'd just be great to see where everybody's coming from and say hi. San Diego, yes. Houston, LA Fitness, Hi-Fi Yoga, Cincinnati, Denver, Birmingham,
Ooh, cool.
New Jersey, Simply Hot Yoga and Fitness, Ontario, Namaste North Yoga, NorCal, Bozeman, oh my gosh, Delaware,
All over the
and
place.
suburban Chicago, all over the place. This is so
Love it.
fantastic. What a community that we have here.
Awesome. Wenatchee. Ooh, I know where that is. I went to University of Idaho. I had a few friends from there.
And people are still in Bend, Oregon as well. Oh, this is so incredible. Well, so like Laura was mentioning, I'm just going to give a little bit of an intro and
Yeah.
background. And calling in from, I was mentioning LA. I grew up here in LA, and in part because of being an LA kid, and I'm sure this will resonate with some childhood memories and pastimes from folks here too, but also being from a Filipino American family, the influences of my childhood absolutely play into, like you were mentioning, Laura, things that I do today, things that I love. And some of those key things were that anytime I was outside of school, I would be playing music, dancing, as well as swimming. So athletics, music, and some things in between too. And so what I found in my adult life, fast forward, as I mean, actually, both Laura and I were business software professionals.
Mhm.
By night, so that was my day job. And in the evening time after work, the thing that I really fell in love with was a blend of all of these things that I loved growing up that really helped to form my life and my joy in boutique fitness. And I mean, just was an avid, whether it was like writer at the studio, yogi, going to classes, going to boxing classes, just anything that really blended that experience of moving to the music, I really loved. And I took a little career break in 2016 to go to grad school. And that's when I decided to get my first fitness instructor certification, just for the purpose of wanting to spread that joy and to be part of that movement. And I found really quickly, in a nutshell, and I think, Laura, I shared with you a photo from my time during grad school with my very first crew of regular clients.
Yes.
And I think so. What really was the impetus for starting Struck Club there was seeing that there was actually a week where I lost 60% of my regular clients. And actually what that photo is, and you'll see this, that I'll share this a lot in our deck online. And also actually we can pull it up. You can
Yeah.
pull it up here.
There we go.
Is that these remaining 40%, it was just like, Laura and I were like, as we were prepping for this webinar, we were jamming on this question of client engagement, client retention. How do we help our instructors and our studio owners really maximize their growth in this critical period where people are coming back, flocking to the studios, coming back to group classes, feeling comfortable again, and we're growing our membership? How do we really do our best to retain? And this was a story of, just confusion and what happened. We were working so hard together to put together a really cohesive class that a group of international, intergenerational folks would really love. And here's what happened. So I had to be away for a week and suspend judgment before thinking that I'm throwing somebody under the bus, because I'm not, but I did have to sub out. So I needed a substitute for my class. There were 3 classes during that week. And I asked to suspend judgment because when I started to get angry emails from my clients while I was away about, Amira, why didn't you equip your sub instructor with the materials that they needed to provide the same vibe of class that we've been building together? My answer was, actually, I thought that I did. I sent along an email. I sent some example playlists. And so I asked them, so what was wrong? Was there something that you didn't like about the coach? And they're like, actually, no, the coach was great. She's fabulous. We really liked the coaching style. I was like, okay, well, you like the coaching style, but still 60% of you left. All right. So was the workout bad? Was it not hard enough? Was it too easy? Actually, the workout was great. We did more. You can see this is a cycling class in this case. We rode more distance and we burned more calories than in your class. And I'm like, wow, well, they got an effective workout. They had a great coach. So what was really wrong? I'm like, y'all need to tell me what's going on here. And they're like, well, the structure of the interplay with the music and the motion wasn't the same. And there wasn't really anything that I could do in an email to convey when things should be said in interplay with the music, how the music structure and the structure of a given song or the tempo can be utilized in the experience to make it engaging and to make folks happy. And so that was a really big learning. Laura had asked me a question in prep to this around how these product insights that we're going to be sharing with you today, these music mechanics today, can bring out strategies for retention and engagement. That was really the origin story in a picture, in a nutshell, of why we started Struck Club in the first place.
Well, and I think that's it's such a common thing for studios. We have subs, especially this time of year, guys. I'm sure all of you are shaking your head yeah, how many sub requests have you gotten? It's like the puzzle of trying to fit in who can teach for who right now. but it's also a time where people need their practice or their class the most. So it's a gamble always, right? Like how many of us have been like, oh God, I know they're not the right fit for this class, but that's the only thing we can do. So we're going to throw that teacher in. It's, there's a lot to be said for arming those teachers and having something in place that allows the music and the cadence and all of those factors that some people wouldn't even know how to explain to keep them, engaged and in line, even with subs.
And it's a win-win. Just when the instructors are equipped with guidance and equipped with exactly what our owners expect, our teammates expect, and our clients expect to really be a steward of the brand and the brand values. We're going to talk a little bit more about this today. Then it makes instructors' lives easier. It saves them time. Like a lot of the time that's spent in class prep is totally voluntary. And it's a credit to your teams and your instructors that a lot of the fuel for the fire that they bring to the studio is out of passion. I think that's something that's amazing and something that we can ignite even further when we go into music and mechanics for class.
Awesome. Well, do you want to share your screen and give us a little bit of a view of what we'll be talking about today?
Yeah, definitely. And we can start as well, just kind of interplay like slides here and there and conversation. I want to make sure that it doesn't feel like a total lecture.
Yeah, I love that.
But in a nutshell, so there are some key topics that I want to make sure that we cover together today. And the the core of it, like the meat and potatoes, is really going to be about specific music mechanics that can help drive that engagement elevation of class, and therefore that ongoing desire for customers to return to class. But really starting from, and I think this is a big area that a lot of us at studio operators, instructors, managers can miss sometimes, which is really starting from our set of core values as a studio, who our key audiences are, the definition of that, and how that should be incorporated and included in the playlisting considerations for class. And really kind of music considerations in two sides of the business. The sides being like every business has a product or a service that you're offering. And then there's a way that you package it, position it, and market it and go forth and sell it. And so there are going to be lots of incremental opportunities to really help ignite the business, even with tools that you have in your own backyard without a total glow up. How does that sound to everybody?
Thumbs up all around. Perfect.
I was wondering, Laura, do you happen to have those Google Slides with you or not at the
Yeah,
moment?
absolutely.
Okay, cool, because that'll help me out a little bit too. So, question for the crowd, just to kick it off: how many of you have been to that class where a song comes on and you're working to it, or maybe it's totally isometric, so you're holding to it, right? It doesn't have to be in motion, where you're like, oh my gosh, I am in the zone right now. I am on fire. Like, give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat if you've ever been there. And if not, I also need to know. So maybe just give me a DM. Oh yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
Michaela, Jane, Jen, Val, you know what I'm talking about. And we'll pass this around for fun at the end too. If you can think back to a track that either you used in class or you heard in class the past week or the past month, where you're like, oh, this was a really good one. go ahead and drop that in the chat. We're going to make a community playlist and share this around after. You can drop
I
that
love it.
now or anytime
For
throughout.
those of you that were just on early, I was actually playing mine that I just heard in class recently because I loved it so much as like the waiting music.
There was a teammate that I once had who said, you know what, Amira, whenever I'm trying to do a PR, a personal record, I have my PR song. And every time I go for a run and I play my PR song, I hit a PR.
Yes.
And it's, there's kind of, we were talking about this too, Laura, where there'll be folks out there who will say, oh, well, music, it's like so subjective. It really comes down to personal preferences, so much so that it's just too much work and effort to like put in the time into designing an intentional experience around it. And I'm like, here's the reality. The the music, if I'm assuming for our guests who are here, that you're here because music plays some kind of role in the experience, in a deep role in the perceptive experience of your class.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have music going on, I can just tell you out of the gate that, and by the way, so a lot of the data that's informing our conversation today draws from a couple of key places. One, and you can find this publicly on the National Library of Medicine, hundreds of studies with conclusive evidence from thousands of different individuals, participants in these studies across quite diverse populations, ability levels, genders, ages, so very cross-sectional. And then there's also at Strut Club, I talked a little bit about our founding story and throwback to 2016. Now we have presence in over 70 countries, over 880 cities. And so we have been able to benefit from just like a broad swath of insight across both anecdotally, qualitatively, and as well as quantitatively, like over the course of just our broad experience. And let me just say,
that's awesome.
It's amazing to get to work with folks worldwide and just like see the patterns and see where there are challenges and opportunities. And if you're not using music in your studio, even if it's for, and I know there are a lot of folks who are in yoga here, there are folks who do HIIT training, whether that is like cardio or strength or like a combination. And if you're not utilizing music, it's just shown again and again, non-music conditions versus music conditions, even like silence and podcasting, having some music is generally superior. And I say generally because there are like definitely things that are inappropriate to play in class that can tank an experience. Any of us with adult judgment can probably guess what some of the, just things like objectionable content, like, just things that can really be either like unwelcoming or demotivating. But that is something that is an exception to the rule that can undermine the experience. And that creates the spectrum and like the bounds by which we can like either elevate or kind of hurt people's experiences in classes. So that's like piece number one. And one of the terms that I want to introduce folks to, if you haven't already heard this term that has been really empowering to us, is called biomusicology. So biomusicology, if you were to surf around and like look for some of these insights yourself.
BIO musicology?
Yeah, biomusicology. Okay. And that research, behavioral research, focuses on the neurological and physiological response, obviously both of these interplay, to music of the whole animal species. So it's not just a human thing. It's when we talk about these stories of, oh, I have my PR song, or all of you folks, when you're dropping the chat, like, yes, yes, yes. There's actually a very natural, ingrained response that we have as humans and we have as an animal kingdom to regular rhythms.
Mm.
And so maybe it's like the ebb and flow of the ocean and the waves that we're attracted to. Maybe it's that regularity of a heartbeat. And when it comes to sound and music, absolutely the beat of the music is one of them. So I'm gonna pause there for a second, see if Laura, did you have any questions or like areas that you wanted to dive deeper into that particular piece?
Yeah, first of all, if you haven't put a song in there, please do because we're serious. We're going to make a playlist of these songs that you put in. So anything that you've listened to lately or that you love or you always throw into your classes or that really struck you in a class recently, that would be awesome. Um, but what I was thinking about as you were speaking was first of all talking about you being in all of these different countries and just being in a class where there's so many different people represented. Music has a way of connecting us, right? Like I remember being at a concert one time and looking around and just seeing this giant smiles on everybody's face. Like there is a way that music brings people together. And I feel like in the world we live in right now, and this is just, taking things into a little bit of a broader sense, there is a lot of disconnection, whether it be physical disconnection because you're not seeing people as much, or political disconnection where there's disagreement or like isn't a comfortable discourse. But music has a way of connecting people. So there's an instant feeling of connection when you're going through an experience together with a beat. And I don't know if there's science behind that. I'm guessing there is, but I'm curious if you have people talk about that ever or use that as kind of a, like, oh, I just feel more connected to people when there's music on.
There are a lot of different, and Laura, do you have the like
The
little
slides.
preview of the worksheet that we
Yep.
are going to be sending to everybody at the end? I just want to flash this up because if and as you're taking notes, whether it's mental or like written notes, I know Laura said don't feel pressure to take furious written notes just so that you can enjoy and absorb. But this is something that we're going to be passing around at the end. Just look out in your inbox for this. It's a worksheet on defining your music method. And we're just these key topics that we're diving through. Identifying your core values. So maybe community and connection is something that you absolutely want to make sure to drive. And I know of studios who, by the way, where their classes are very much focused on like the individual and honing personals, which is okay and a really important offering that people need to have as well. So it's really important to define those and then the target audience, right? Those things interplay together. And I'm really excited because like the succeeding pages that you'll see once you get this worksheet are really going to drop into like what are those aspects, those attributes of music, those variables that I can amplify to drive that connection. One of them being familiarity of a song that people have, and something that they might know, maybe a top like mega hit of the past they can sing along to, things like that. And as well as like finally the marketing approach and like packaging to ignite the community and to design and like package the total experience of like communicating the attributes of playlists. I still see people dropping in songs.
Okay,
We can
awesome.
pause screen for a second to Laura if you want, but Unstoppable, Sia, I love that one too.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Um, hey, hey. Oh, yay. Some of these I've definitely heard, not just in classes, but I've sung along to in the car.
We're going to be completely jamming after. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start from top to bottom
Mhm.
with this sheet. We don't have to screen share, just so you can start to think about this. So core values. This is absolutely key before you start thinking about like all the like technical details of music, like is this isn't a major or minor key, is the BPM 120 to 130, what have you, because your core values are the framing lens for everything. So here's some questions for you. What makes your interpretation and use of the tools of music distinct from any other place? What are the principles that guide how you aspire to operate in class and just as a studio and community as a whole? And so how are these principles informed by the way you want or even promise to make clients feel? Think about your marketing messaging, right? And just the brand terms that you use. How do you aspire to make clients feel at every step of their journey with you in class?
Mm.
So, you know, are there, if you want to drop in the chat, sometimes this, if you're in stealth mode as a studio, I know we've invited some like newer studio owners, and there's some definition to be had. But if you would like to share, drop into the chat. Is there a principle or set of principles that you're willing to share that guides how you craft your experience? So for us at Struck Club, for example, our 3 core values at the company are authenticity, impact, and inclusion. That drives everything that we do, that drives all the content that we create and vet that you'll see in the Struck Club app. And then there's some fun core values that I've seen out there that are interesting and distinct. So things like independence,
Yeah.
rock and roll, or
Yeah.
even this was an interesting one. It's not about you.
Love it.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
So
No,
seeing
I've seen a lot across the board from studios when it comes to core values and just kind of guiding principles and mission statements. And oftentimes, I mean, if some of you guys drop yours in, I see in there a lot community. Awesome. Empowerment is a really good one. But you're right, diversity, inclusivity, those have all been really key things that I've seen pop up, especially since 2020. So I'm excited to hear how that can actually be incorporated in music. That it feels like to me, I had never put 2 and 2 together with music and values or principles before.
totally. And I love,
Oh,
I love seeing, empowerment, dropping into the chat. Like one of the quick answers to that is when you define, say, for example, diversity, inclusion, and representation.
mhm.
There is a challenge if you are just vetting songs from naturally what a music player algorithm, so you're using Spotify, an algorithm for recommendations is going to give you lookalike songs to the songs you're already listening to. So if you, in your personal life, you're listening to majority of women artists and voices in your playlist, that's going to be continually recommended to you. So it creates a challenge for you if and an awareness that if diversity, inclusion, and representation is important to your
Mhm.
studio, that you go outside of and be even more intentional than what a
Mhm.
music player is going to naturally be recommending to you, to
God,
be
that's
able to
true.
create that variety. Because a lot of these recommendation algorithms and how they're really designed is really to hone lookalike. And it's not like, it's not to say that they're anti-diversity or like anti-representative, but they make your job harder when it comes to creating that variety that can be a representation of drawing that connection between the student in class, the participant, and how they feel they're being represented and spoken to, and the messages that you have for them through the playlists and the songs.
Okay. And now, do you think about too, like the words in the song? Like, so empowerment, for an example, is that something that you'd carry into, like, okay, we want to make sure the words of our songs speak to empowerment?
Absolutely. So that's a perfect example, Laura, of when you've defined a core value, then it makes it so much easier. So all of these like various attributes that you're going to see in the worksheet that we're going to drop to you, things like the voices that you're using,
Mhm.
things like the genres, like
Mm.
variety of genres, and things like the vibe. Is this a positively vibe song? Is it kind of a more angsty song, right? Like what types lyrics is another one. What are those
Mhm.
messages? What are the words that are being spoken in class? Because guess what? There's sometimes that people will be like so focused on the work that they'll be zoning out. But the messages, the words that are being used in class are messages to people, and folks are paying attention
Yeah.
to those. So you definitely need to be paying attention to that as you're going through like preparing those playlists. And as a studio, it really helps to have guidelines. So when we say, I know a core value is maybe at a studio that I've seen that I love is fun. Love is another one. So you can already start to imagine, I'm sure, our minds will draw those associations of those songs that represent and carry forward those message of fun, playfulness, as well as love, kindness, and compassion. So that already starts to help by putting a line in the sand and putting a stake in the ground around like, these are what our core principles are. This is how we operate. This is how we do things that draw and to help curate that playlisting.
Cool. And then I'll share my screen here in a second so they can get a visual, but I imagine that this incorporates into the cadence of class too. And like when those, when those messages are heard at powerful moments or times in class is probably very important.
Yeah. So here are the like, if you want to jot down a list, and this is going to be in the worksheet of just some key mechanics that we've seen that in studies have been studied a lot. They've been studied a lot. And I think it's important because one, there's a lot of evidence around these mechanics, vibe, genre, tempo, voice, lyrics, song structure, which we're going to jump into a bit more here, familiarity being another one, volume, tempo. These top 8 to 9 have been studied a lot. And I condition it with that to say, hey, there's a ton of evidence around this. There's a ton that is known that you can do to modify and play with these elements, these variables to affect the formula, really like a mechanical formula that you're putting people through and the outcomes. But also, there are a lot of things that have yet to be studied. And there are a lot of things where there are a lot of attributes that you might find in music, and we've left space for this in the worksheet too, that you should define to say, maybe this is like the style of our studio. Maybe these are some instrumentals that affect, or maybe these are contributors of vibe that maybe haven't been looked at yet. Those are such huge opportunity areas to then define a unique experience for yourself and to create guidance around how your team should have kind of like, what is the North Star pathway to that ideal experience you're trying to create in tandem with your core values. So we have this song structure basics. This comes from, I love this, the ultimate musicality course for dancers. So giving them full credit for this visual. There's so many visuals of song structure basics, but these define either moments, points where you can utilize one or more of them during class maybe in like a highly choreographed class. You're using all of these elements, right? If you're in a more, maybe it's like a recuperative class or a restorative class, a yoga class, you're not using every last little transition in music. But this is a powerful tool. I think there are probably some of you that at least I know of in the chat who are pretty familiar with this, but song structure basics, you have the intro of the song. They're the bookends. There's the intro, there's the outro at the end. And there are key elements: verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then it cycles through verse. You'll see the chorus again, and then a bridge. So all of these will be take-home assets too, by the way, but you'll see, or maybe you've heard song structures that are like A, B, A, B, A, B, C, and they kind of modulate back and forth. But the chorus, for those who aren't familiar with the like technicalities, it's that like key part of the song. So it's ha, 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 staying alive, staying alive. Like that's the chorus. It's like, it's a thing that repeats like again. And then the verse, like generally that's like what's building up to it. We're talking about, I don't know, like Taylor Swift songs. We're going through the woods. It smells super fresh. I'm like feeling this. It's like building up, leading up to the chorus. And like, that's like the big moment. And
The
then
chorus is what everybody sings along to, right? So that's like incorporating those moments into key parts of the class seem to be important, right?
totally. So if we flip over to the next couple, the next slide here, this is an example of marrying, in this case, this is a HIIT class or like a HIIT format structured to a song that is interlocked. And there have been, what's important about this is in this case, Usher's Scream. Love this song. You can clearly see where the choruses are. And this is a song that in the view of the Struck Club app has been structured to be really married to the song. And you can see here's our intro, here's our verse, here's our pre-chorus build, chorus hits, and you'll see it hit again and again. And one of the studies that I love to quote, it's a Kostas Karagorgas one. It's about basically studying training in tandem with like structured music
Mm-hmm.
and completely against like just not taking into account like the structure. This includes like the tempo as well, the structure and like the mechanics of the music. And the things that they find is just again and again, if you're not taking advantage, like there's just because of the natural the things that we were talking about in biomusicology, like the natural entrainment, the natural synchrony that we find to the beat of the music, that is so overpowering that if you completely divorce the motion from the music, it's actually kind of confusing to people. Their mind has to be in completely like two different places at once.
Mm.
So if you move over to the next slide, we're going to take a look. This is looking at right here, competitive athletes' heart rate journey during a class with their own preferred music. And so in this case, I believe this is a guy named Matt, and he's doing a combination of strength training. He's doing kind of a circuit of weights and cycling. And he's listening to music that he has totally selected himself. So, and this is sectioned into like these blue, green, yellow, orange, red. These are the 5 heart rate zones. So you can see he's spending a lot of, Matt's spending a lot of his time in zone 2 and the fitness zone and in zone 3. So a lot of focus there on like fat oxidation, you're strengthening your capillaries, really great. If this is what you're looking for, he's achieving this because he's listening to preferred music. And this is just a representation, one example, one person of just showing what
Mm-hmm.
is happening, what is able to happen when we're bringing in folks' preferences. And
Right.
a question comes up of like, how do I know people's preferences? How do you ask for people's preferences? Right.
Yeah.
So this is a class that he's just designed with music that he likes in the background. And so let's flip over to the next slide. Same athlete, same exercises, same workout, and now it's structured to music, kind of like that example of like Usher's Scream song that we were showing.
Oh,
And
wow.
now, if this is the effect that you're looking to get, not everybody is trying to do this, right? Not all of you are teaching HIIT classes, but this is just an example
But
of,
honestly, like I keep thinking it can be the opposite down if you're trying to drop people into relaxation, right? Like they're coming in stressed and we're trying to go down and get them into that lower heart rate zone. And you can, I imagine, accomplish the same thing.
right through. And so, like, we start with the baseline of like enabling people to enjoy prefer music and music that they enjoy, because you can
Perfect.
already tell there's a difference of like being able to elevate them to these zones versus like a warm-up zone or like things that without preferred music, how that can affect their performance. And then now being able to elevate using just, I mean, truly essentially the same content in class, the same exercises and movements, elevate them to those zone 4 and even in this case zone 5 with just those little tweaks of taking
Wow.
advantage of the music. So it's just to show, it's not to say, hey, like this is what every restorative class needs to do. This is not what you want a cool down to be looking like, right? but it's just to arm you with the data. And this is one example of what a lot of these studies bear out, of like the impact of making sure that the motion takes advantage of those moments of music, the structure of the music, as
Right.
well as the tempo of the music,
Yeah,
and even
but
the
I was
volume
gonna
of
ask you,
music.
like so is is it I'm imagining it's a combination of all the things, but this is when you say structured music, that was like a struct club set class, music set to the class. So it was designed perfectly for the cadence of the class. That's your ideal situation. And when you say his preferred music, that's he just put on a playlist that he likes. It could be, and it wasn't structured to the cadence of the class. It was just, I like these songs. So that's kind
Yeah,
of
Matt likes, he loves rock songs. Matt used to
Mhm.
be in a hair band. It's amazing. So
Oh
he's
my
he's a
gosh.
musician too. He has a background, and you'll find a lot of your clients and people walking through your studios are really savvy about music. Like
Yeah.
he was a music artist himself. And so there's a lot. I mean, he likes guitars, and he likes moving with we got some
Yeah.
club hits in there. Uh,
Right.
and he just loves 80s. So we got a lot of 80s and 80s stuff and throwback to 80s in there too.
Yep.
So
Okay.
that's kind of, I mentioned some of that as well, because when it pertains to style, some of us, and sometimes I've been guilty of this too. Like, we forget to ask our clients, like, what, and even specifically, maybe of the songs that we played today, was there one or a couple like that you liked, or
Yeah.
do you have any song requests, or do we have a system for collecting song requests, or do we give them our Instagram handle so they can DM us or what have you with song requests? How do we know what people like? How do we measure that? The
Yeah.
first step is really asking.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I mean, I've often been in a position after class where there was like a song I loved, and when I'm a student in the class, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of awkward. I shouldn't go up to the teacher and ask, but I really want to know who sang that song and what it was. It just made the experience for me. And I'm always so grateful when I walk up to them and ask, and then I add that to my playlist. But it's so telling of the power of music that that's what's sitting in my mind after the class, not how hard it was, not that I was breathing crazy hard and I was dying, but that song is still in my head, and that's what got me through it. So I feel like it's one of those things that we underestimate how much our clients are impacted by it.
This brings up, Laura, another really, important question that I have for folks. If anybody in the room has ever experienced someone in their life who just actually completely forgot who they were, they like forgot your name, they don't know who you are, and there's somebody who's been in your life for a long time.
I mean, like, forgot your name for sure.
And I mean, specifically, even due to age, Alzheimer's, dementia. I
Mhm.
mean, I bumped into, luckily, somebody who is on the executive team at UCLA, who is just doing, like, pioneering some amazing research on the effect of music
Mhm.
and aging, and specifically memory retention, and interplay with conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's amazing that one of the things they find again and again is that there are these folks who do not remember their family members, their names, but they will remember lyrics to music.
Wow.
They will
Yeah.
remember songs. So there's something that is so deep, and like,
Yep.
I'll say, like, hey, yeah, there are like hundreds of studies, there are thousands of subjects that have been studied, but there's still a lot more to uncover with, like, it, wow, there is a reason why we as a human species create music. There's something really deeper, that there's something that's happening that is really burrowing into our minds in a
Yep.
way that lots of other long-term memory retain, like what would normally be retained by the memory, gets
Right.
lost.
Well, it's
So
just, I mean, instant impact for your classes. Like it makes them more memorable, right? Their experience at your studio now is burrowed in, like you're saying now, burrowed into their memory as something hopefully positive, right? But the music, I'm sure, can also have the opposite experience if you're not really curating it and thinking about it. But it enhances the performance, whether the performance is intended to be super high or if the performance in class is supposed to be mellowing out and dropping in and calming down. So those two things right there to me are just like obvious reasons where this can impact retention and engagement and keeping your clients really excited about what's happening.
yeah, and let me like kind of blow through just some like quick tips regarding like just
Yeah.
some of those aspects specifically. Folks can take notes. Obviously, this is going to be recorded, but when it comes to recovery specifically, um, I'll speak about tempo in kind of like three categories. There's fast, there's slow, and there's moderate, somewhere in between. And recovery, drop a guess like between those three categories, what does the best for our recovery when it comes to tempo? High tempo, low tempo, or moderate tempo?
Yeah.
Slow, low to moderate, moderate. All right. It's moderate, actually. And so a lot of people might I mean, it just kind of would like make intuitive sense of like, oh, we're going slower. Oh, we're recovering, like slow paced
Mhm.
music, but actually multiple studying even different types of things, different types of modalities, find that mid tempo, that moderate tempo stimulates better recovery. And so on the flip side, higher like band of 120 to 130 beats per minute plus, that if folks are fatigued, you're looking to bring them back up, is going to reinvigorate folks. So
Interesting.
you kind of need to start with that band if you're looking to affect like a reinvigoration of energy, say like that last big song. And that is another reason why, so we were starting to talk about like variety. A
Mhm.
variety of tempo is really important, and paying attention to that is um is key to engaging, keeping folks' attention for sure, but also stimulating the desired effect that you're looking to have, whether it is like just physiological affecting effort, or even in like an emotional response,
Right.
like a mental response in selecting your music. Utilizing key moments of songs, we talked a little bit about that.
Can I just ask really
Lyrics,
quickly, when you say moderate, I mean, I never think in terms of beats per minute because I taught yoga and nobody's ever spoken those words to me in terms of our music. So that's really interesting to start thinking about. But somebody asked, would that be around 70 to 90 RPM or BPM when you're talking about moderate?
I was sort of class with
Oh, I know,
EDM.
totally.
Kicking off a yoga class with EDM. It's so the important thing to note is actually that it's going to be relative to the rest of the tempos. So people are going to
Uh,
perceive moderate. So like if your baseline tempo of class, if this is like a really fast moving class and it's like we got a lot of 130, like 120 BPM here going on, um, then something that is like a 50 BPM is going to be like, whoa, this is like
yeah.
really slow. So I would, what I would do is just really take a look at, and this is one of the things that our tooling automates, is like Strut Club automatically will read the BPM of the songs that you're using. And so paying attention to that, like what is about the middle here?
Hmm.
Where is like our median band?
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Okay,
think
that helps. So
people
it depends
perceive.
on the class or the music that you're playing around that makes moderate. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time because I know it's easy to talk forever about music. If you were talking to a studio and they're like, okay, where do I start? I love this idea. I love the concept of making music a more important part of my classes, having a little bit more instruction for our studios or our teachers on how to craft playlists. First of all, what would you say? Second of all, how easy is it for them to use Struct Club?
Definitely. So thanks for asking. And
Mhm.
first, I would very much go back to, and luckily, all of this is at the very top of the worksheet that we'll be sharing around.
Yep.
But please, 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 I know this sounds really like maybe obvious and basic, but you'd be surprised at how often we see this being just completely absent from the process. Go back to defining and naming those core values. And especially the one, maybe you pick 3 for starters, right? It can be a living document, right? You can add to it over time. Don't be afraid to name what those core values are. And especially the ones that apply to, you feel should be applying to how the music should be curated and designed. Going, just really putting a like stake in the ground with that. And then identifying your target audiences and any like attributes of the community. And we put, for example, like in the worksheet, maybe you have a very, in the case of the picture that I was showing you, an international community.
Mhm.
How should that play into the music selection of class? In
Right.
our case, it was like global genre class, lots and lots of different voices and languages that are represented to really be able to speak literally sometimes in the language of clients.
Wow.
So centering it, like bringing it back to this question of what's the experience, the unique experience that you're trying to create? Because people
Okay.
can go to like lots of different yoga classes, they can go to lots of different workout
Right.
classes. What makes your, like writing it down and naming it, what makes your experience special and defining so that when people come into your house, and we have just a lot of studios here, like the house of Brian, the house of Lauren, the house of Tommy, the house of Sharon, like what is unique and special about that experience, and then utilize that to start to curate, like define that second page of stuff that we'll have for you, all of the like granular elements and mechanics of music, some of these insights that we talked about in terms of like dialing up or down certain elements of that, and applying that to your total experience, and then applying that to like the key sections. Maybe we look at this lens, apply it to the warm up. Maybe we take this
Yeah.
lens, we apply it to the cool down. Like, what should those stages of the journey that the client has with you? How should that inform like the mechanics of the music during those key points? So I would really start there. I would very much start with your vision and then start applying the best practices, start applying feedback from clients.
Okay. Awesome. And then if they want to use Struct Club, tell us a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
about
I
what
forgot
that
to
would
answer
look
that
like.
question.
Guys, because
Oh
seriously,
yeah.
I'm not just saying this. This takes the work off your teacher's plate. And it's something that allows them to, whether it be cycling, yoga, meditation, Pilates, there's something for everybody. So tell us just quickly about what it would look like for teachers to start using this or studios to offer this to their teachers.
Good news. You can download Strut Club for free on the App Store today.
Yay.
So just hop onto the App Store. You could go to strutclub.com if you want. If you want to talk together, okay. So look out for the worksheet. And here's what we're doing, just because I wanted to provide something special to Laura and the community. For those of you who are Strut Club members who are here, we probably spent time together already. You know where my calendar is, but this is for folks who haven't, they're maybe not part of our community yet and haven't seen this, but this is this QR code is like to my personal Calendly comp 30-minute jam sesh, just to like dive into really specifics for your studio and your vision. And for this month, I'm gonna have to close it after the first 10, or else my team's gonna kill me. This is my personal work email, so you can email me directly if you'd prefer to do that. We have all kinds of funnels on our website that will direct you to where to go to, but this is me personally. This is our IG. This is my personal IG. You can just DM us anytime. Just, it's casual, just like go
Yep.
ahead and contact us.
Somebody asked, didn't notice anything in the Strut Club app related to yoga class playlists. Are they missing something?
It'll probably be, there'll be some stuff in the sculpt section. So you'll see like 3 sections of the app. One is kind of our I don't know if you've ever used Canva before, but it's our template library.
Hmm.
And they're in several categories. You'll see cycle, HIIT, sculpt, tread, and then kind of an infinite scroll of different sections and collections of things. So we have our holiday hits, some newly published items from our community of instructors and our team. Each of these templates include the playlist. It includes the workout, of course, and then like little script notes, reminders to the coach, and all of that timed with like key moments of the music. On the other side of it, if you're a DIY person, you want to create stuff from scratch, just head over to the like personal library. I can drop into like just some demos. We have a YouTube channel that will go through like our whole 101 tour, and you'll see like pop-ups throughout the app directing you. But to be able to create stuff for, I don't know, maybe it's yoga, or maybe it's, I've seen like some cool trampoline workouts. Like,
One of our clients on here has a trampoline studio, so or
I love it.
yeah,
I'm so
bungee
excited.
and trampoline. So we'll put that in the follow-up email, just some links to that, Amira. I'd love if you could just share some links on where people can go to learn how to use the app best, especially because I know we do have a lot of yoga, bar, even Pilates clients that are on here. So it's not all, the high intensity music that we're looking for.
Yeah, I definitely want to be mindful of making sure that like we cater our recommendations to your unique concept, your unique vision, your unique
Mhm.
community, because that's really, what's going to, when we bring it back to that client engagement and retention piece,
Mhm.
like, I mean, think about a class that you've been to where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go back. There was something defined, there's some definition around the experience. There's something that made it unique. And there are probably actually a lot of things that made it unique. And there are a lot of things that probably resonated with what you value in your experiences and what you value. I mean, not just in your workouts, but in your movement routine, in your
Right.
wellness routine, right? When we talk about and just kind of like bring it back to your core values, it transforms, like the technical aspects, like the minute, maybe like tedious aspects of like what we need to put together into a defined experience. And that's what
Cool.
we're really trying to do and help you to structure.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Last quick question. Christy was wondering if there's a way to search for old playlists. I was looking for Javier's Long Way Home playlist and can't find it. I don't know what that means, but maybe you do, Amira.
So if it's in, yeah, there could be several ways to do it, but one thing I can do is,
Send
and the
her an
good
email,
news is
maybe.
share links. Like we
Yeah,
have share links in the app so people can share. Let's contact Javier and make sure that he can share that with you. If you
okay.
don't already have it. And if you do, we can chat about like the search bar and like search tooling in the
Yeah.
app as well.
Okay, awesome. So I'll put this up one last time in case anybody did not get her email or the handles down there. Feel free to schedule a meeting, grab some time. Clearly, Amira, you are incredibly passionate about this topic and have so much knowledge. I know people were very interested too in some of the research that you referenced. So in our follow-up, guys, we'll have a couple links on some of that research and those studies that can help inform the decisions that you make moving forward. We're so excited that we had you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Guys, if you want to, those of you who are in our Walla Facebook group, please feel free to drop some more songs in there or share some success stories about how this works for you. One of the things I always love are before and afters. So if you have a studio that was, potentially not so committed to or not so engaged in your music and how your teachers were delivering it, and then you really put some intention behind this, we love to hear how that works out for you. Good, bad, or ugly, this is why we do what we do. We want to make your businesses better. We want to help you make decisions. And ultimately, I think this can be one that makes a big impact. So thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Just quickly, Amira, if there is anything else you'd like to say at the end, feel free here. But otherwise, we'll follow up with an email.
Absolutely. All I have to say is thanks. Thanks, everybody.
So great to see you all. Thanks for being here, and we will be sending out the recording soon. All right.
Amazing.
Bye.